Hello and welcome to today's user group on Titan using the inventory from cradle to grave. In today's section we are going to focus on the business layer and we're going to be going over product types, products active and all, vendors, and then inventory items and inventory items filtered. Okay, so we're going to start with creating a vendor. I'm going to go to Administration, and then click Vendors. And you can see that we have an existing list of our vendors. So let's go into one that's already been created. And what you list out is basically products that you purchase from that vendor. So on the product side, it's going to be mirrored, and you'll actually have a list of products, and I'll actually list out all the vendors that are purchased from them as well. And then you can list out services from the vendor, addresses, contacts, a list of any purchase orders placed for that vendor, vendor service accreditations, and then you can put limits, product limits, and a new feature, kappas. Okay, so let's go back to the vendor screen and we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to hit the create button. And you have a choice at this point. It's going to say, is it a vendor or a calibration agency? I'm going to go ahead and select it as a vendor. And now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the name. So I'm going to go ahead and create it by then we'll go ahead and hit save. And we've now saved that vendor. So that's all you have to do to create a new vendor, is just a name. Now we can go back and put in information. If we have an account number for the vendor, we can go ahead and put that in. I can go ahead and put in my description. I'm going to go ahead and hit save now, and then it says that it must be a valid URL, so I have a wrong copy, so let's go ahead and fix that. So I corrected my address, and now I can go ahead and hit save. Okay, now that we got that saved, we can go ahead and either create a product right now, or let's go ahead and add in some other additional information. We're going to go ahead and create the address. And so we can go ahead and select the type. Go ahead and hit save. Save and close. We now have an address. Then we can come down here and create a contact. So if this is a brand new contact person, we would first have to go to the administration, and create a new user. In this case, we're going to go ahead and just select an existing one. And I'm going to say that Dan is the contact there. Okay, well that's how we create a new vendor. We're going to go over associating products and the purchase orders during those features, but you could also create them within here. Okay, the next thing we're going to go over is products. If we go to administration, you can see that we have two choices. We have products active and products all. Products all lists out all the products in the system. And you can see that there's a little active checkbox. All product active does is just strictly list out everything that's an active product. So we're going to come down here and we can see a list of our products. There's basically two types of products you can have in the system. There's a is manufactured or is purchased. So let's come down and we're going to go over two examples. I'm going to come use the filter bar and we're going to do BAM media. And you can see that it is manufactured. So here's our product. Now we can associate an image with it, which we have, and that's this picture. And so we have the name, the description. It is an active product. And then we have a product type, which is a chemical, finished good, reagent, or raw material. To create more product types, you come down to configuration, product types, and you have a list. So if we wanted to create a new one, we could call it, let's say, consumables. And that's it. We created our product type. So it's very easy. And then if we wanted to come down here, we could change that to consumables. We're going to leave it as reagent. So under the metrics, this is the base quantity. So this is the most common quantity you'll use when making the product. So in this case, we're going to say that every time we make a batch, it's going to be 1,000 milliliters. And you can change that to whatever you want, but use the most common measurement. Then for certain objects, if it applies, you can put a weight, length, width, height, dimensional unit, but that's all optional. Then we also have a spot for industry cost, industry price, your cost, and your price. Cost would be the cost of the raw materials, maybe including labor. Price would be how much you can sell it for if it's a product that you can actually sell when manufacturing. If we go through the remaining tabs, we can go over inventory. And we can see that we have individual inventory items. So what happens is you create a product and then you can create individual inventory items for that product. So for example, maybe you would purchase the BAM media as well. Well, that would still be an inventory item that was created. So the individual product would still be the BAM media, and then each item coming in, whether it be consumed or purchased, is the inventory item itself. And so we also have a track inventory button, so it'll be tracked. Our total on hand is 2,600 milliliters. And those are the 4 available items. And then we also have a miscellaneous. We can have a upper and lower watch limit, so that way we get warnings when we are above or below a certain information level. So if we wanted to create a new inventory item, we would go to Create. And you can see that it fills out to the product, BAM media. And I'm going to say original on hand, we're going to go with 1,000. Everything's in yellow, so those are the required fields. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. scroll down, we got 2 more that are required as well. So the production batch, we're going to go ahead and pick that BAM media. So I'm going to go ahead and finish by putting in the lot number. And I'm just going to put in and then you can put in an expiration date if you want. We can also put in the container type, container ID, current storage location. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in a production batch. Now when I go and hit save, we have created the inventory item. So let's go back to the BAM that we just created, and there it is. That's the inventory item we just made. So you can see that there's different states. What we're going to do is we're going to transition this state. So I'm going to go to right mouse click transitions, and I am going to say it's available. And when I hit refresh now, you can see that the total inventory on hand went from 2,600 to 3,600, and that's because it's available. And I could then say it's disposed or depleted too if for whatever reason we wanted to get rid of that. So let's say we're going to dispose of it because something wasn't right. I'm going to save and then refresh. Alright, so if we look at the production section, you can actually pull out the ingredients that you use and how much. So this is kind of like your ingredient list bench sheet. So in this composition I have dextrose, distilled water, yeast, tryptone, and agar powder, and I could easily go ahead and hit create. And we could put in a new ingredient if we so chose. But we're going to just go ahead and delete that and keep it as is. All right. We go to the production tab. These are all the components that we've made. Individual lot number, finished amount. And then we also have continuous batch. So if it's an ongoing production, then you can do that. Product plans, you can actually have different material as far as inspection level, start amount goes, activation date. And then we have vendors. If this was a purchased product, we could actually go ahead and associate it with vendors. We're going to go over that in a little bit. And then finally, safety data sheets. You can actually attach your safety data sheet, and to do that, you would simply go ahead and click Add File, and then I could browse to whatever, and then add that bench sheet. So we go back to products. We're going to go ahead and look at that other product. We have HCl ASC grade, and this is purchased. And it's very similar. When we open this purchase one though, it asks me, well, what type of product is it? Is it a product or a preservative? We're going to go ahead and select product. And so when we purchase this, we say that the base quantity is 1 milliliter. We could also say we purchase it, and that's because it's just the simplest measurement. So that way when we buy it, we can say that we bought a 5-liter jug or a 1-liter jug. And that's why we decided to say that the basis quality is 1 milliliter, because that's what we're measuring in and using it by. And again, we could put in industry cost, industry price, and so forth. So notice that we have the checkbox is purchased as opposed to is manufactured. If we go to inventory, here's the inventory items on hand, and it'd be a very similar process. I would go ahead and create and then we would go say we're gonna order, let's say we ordered a 5-liter jug for the main lab, and then I'm going to put in the lot number. And it says it's an ordered product. I can go ahead and pick a PO. And so let's say we did do a purchase order. I'm going to go ahead and check purchase order, and we're going to create a new one. Normally you would create the purchase order first. So I'm going to say that we bought it from Thermo, the vendor we created earlier. And I'm going to hit save. And then I would go ahead and create this information. But what we're going to do actually is we're going to go back to Thermo Scientific, because we have yet to list out what products we can buy from them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. I'm going to put in their catalog number. And this is where, there it is. So we can say that we can also purchase the HCl from Thermo. And then the quantity for this catalog number. So you could have multiple catalog numbers for maybe 10 liter, 5 liter, a box, you name it. So I'm going to say this is a 5,000 milliliter. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. Now we're going to come back to this purchase order. So once we create the purchase order, we're going to go ahead and create that product. And we're going to say that the requested product is at HCl. And this is the list of what we can actually purchase from Thermo. Then the vendor product. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. And you can see that since I said the quantity was 2, the base price, it automatically is extended out. We can also put in services for that PO if we wanted to, or attachments, maybe the actual PO that we want to attach. I'm going to go ahead and close out, save and close. And there is that PO we created. So let's transition that PO to placed. And when we come into our inventory items for the product, we can say let's create when it comes in. So this was an ordered product. Let's go ahead and say original amount on hand. Here's that 2 liters that we ordered. And then since it was an ordered product, we're going to go ahead and pick that PO that we just used. So we are tying that inventory item to the PO we created. Just like before, we're going to go ahead and put in that lot number. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And these are different results all tied to that individual product that was ordered. So we can also have custody transactions. Maybe we can have the C of A that comes with the ordered product attached. You could scan that in. So there's a lot of stuff that you can actually tie in with this. So let's go ahead and save and close. We're actually going to close all the tabs. And we're just going to go back to products active. So let's go to the inventory item real quick. So we're going to go to administration, and you see how we got 2 inventory items? The inventory item up here, that's for inventory items for the last 90 days. And if you wanted to have just all of them, we could go ahead and click inventory item. That brings up the filter bar. And if we just hit OK, that'll bring up every inventory item in the system. Or we could restrict to whatever we want to look for. So I'm going to hit OK, we'll bring up everything. And what do we see at the top? We see the inventory item we just created. And the lot number is 6165. And that's the one that we just created here. So you can see that when we ordered the product, I picked it from a new vendor, and here it is. We tied that vendor into a purchase order, and that purchase order got tied back to the product. So all 3 kind of interconnect. Let's go back to the inventory item in detail. And here is some transactions. Let's go ahead and create a new transaction for the inventory item. And I'm going to say the amount was 500 mils. And I'm going to say spilled. I'm going to go ahead and save. And we go back here, we can do some other transitions. So let's say that it's now created. Now we're going to say it's available. So now it's actually going to be able to be used. And that's pretty much it for the inventory item. So in review, we created a new vendor. You can then go to your vendors and associate what products you purchased from them. So here's the company that we created. And then we list out the products you can purchase from them. And again, the products are actually the type of reagent, and then you can have catalog numbers as well for individual items. So when you can go to products, you can have a list of a whole bunch of different ones, and then you have a core product associated with it. And you can also put vendor services, contacts, purchase orders. So let's look at that purchase order we have, and that's the one we created earlier. Under the purchase order thing, it's associated with that. And again, you can always right mouse click, and you can transition anytime you want. So now we can say that that came in earlier as we updated those quantities. If we go back to products, here's my HCl. We can go ahead and create new inventory items, and we can associate that with a PO as you saw. So let's go ahead and double click that inventory item. And this takes us to the actual inventory item. If we go back to the vendors, or let's say products, you can see that we'll go to vendors, and this is all the vendors we can purchase the product from. And you can see how we do have Fisher listed out twice, and that's because we can buy it in a 2.5 milliliter jug, or we can buy it in the 15 liter jug, and we have a price for both. Alright, that concludes the portion on inventory from Cradle to the Grave. If you have any questions, feel free to email support@atlab.com or myself, dsloan@atlab.com. Thank you very much.